The numbers told the story. They always do.
It's one of those idiots who believe in analytics.
This is A Numbers Game with Gill Alexander on VSiN.
Hour number 2 of A Numbers Game at VSiN TV, Sirius XM Channel 158. Gill Alexander, Kelley Bydlon in the house. Paul Sporer is going to join us this hour, as will Nick Whalen. A little later on, Tadej Wishnev.
When's Nick getting in town, Danny? Tomorrow? I mean, I can't wait to hear about Nick Whalen's whatever golf outings he has set up for his trip to Vegas.
Yeah, so we have it's contest weekend here at
Contest
Circa.
weekend?
So Drew is going to come in town too. Drew Dinsick. Drew and I will be at the Win for the U.S. Open pod on Friday. Zach will be remote with us on that. So a lot of people coming into town.
Mm-hmm. But I think they're doing that Radio Row again,
Radio
right?
Row, yes. He's doing Radio Row.
So that's where I think Nick's coming in town. I don't think Jeff is, right? But they're doing one of their pods from up there. And
I don't believe
Andy and Drew are doing.
I want to say like the last contest weekend I've been present for was one of the first. So like I've never seen this Radio Row that they do, but they do that.
I went up there last year. It was funny running into Nick and Jeff because it was the first time I had seen them in person.
I told Nick last week that you felt kind of offended because he kind of blew you off.
It's hilarious. I was just going to tell a story right now.
I'm sorry.
Like Nick, I've been talking to and we've had on shows for a decade. I've known Nick Whalen for at least 10 years. Never met him in person until last summer. And you're like, I'm excited to go meet Nick finally in person, right? And like Jeff at that point, I barely know. I respect him. He's on the network, like him, right? But don't know him nearly as well as Nick. And I go up to those two come approach me at the same time. Jeff Erickson's so happy and excited to see me. Nick had golf to get to. He was so funny. It was like, hey man, good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah, I gotta get to golf.
So I think it was the day when Matt was here. So I told Nick this prior to his segment last week. And Danny, would you not say that it sort of rattled Nick for the entire? It did. Danny's saying it did. He was visibly ashamed. He was like, "Oh my God, I didn't mean to offend him." So
good. Well,
so we got to bring that up.
Yeah, we'll give him more crap.
Hey, by the way, can we pour out a 40, the melancholy RIP to Dolly Parton?
Yeah.
80 years old yesterday, who passed away. The news was it was everywhere. And the only thing besides the fact that, I don't know, what's my favorite Dolly Parton song? Here You Come Again. That's probably my favorite Dolly Parton song. But the amazing thing about her passing, more than anything, beyond her talent, beyond her music career, she wrote I Will Always Love You, which Whitney Houston made into a massive smash. She actually recorded it first. The philanthropist she was, the charitable person that she was, and more than anything, the rare human being that is universally beloved.
Yeah, for real.
Upon her passing.
That
universally beloved. Not one person would ever say a bad word about Dolly Parton.
Yeah. I think the sometimes like the fake fake thoughts and prayers and that you see on social media sometimes like rub me the wrong way. I was taken aback yesterday when it was just so much. I mean the outpouring for on social media on every news channel. It was impressive, and you don't find anybody that ever has a bad thing to say about her.
Oh, I mean, she lived like, Crack and I go to dinner with Nifty, who's Frank Sinatra's assistant. And Nifty tells all these stories about how Sinatra, people didn't know, Sinatra gave millions to hospitals, to charities. And Dolly Parton did it all very, very quietly as well. And anyway, just rest in peace to Dolly Parton, who, again, that was the real takeaway yesterday. It was just like, wow, can you come up with another person that would be this absolutely blanketed, adored?
Yeah.
And I don't know that you can.
I don't know you can either.
I don't know that you can. I just want to read this one. This is a Betting X Factors about Will's appearance. He goes, Will with a freezing cold take. I think 90% of us are okay with Belichick going out this way. Go spend some more time with Jordan, he says. I'm with you, buddy.
I kind of thought it when he said it too, but okay.
Let's go Country Club and let's do it. Oh, yeah. Oh, look at that.
Danny's last chance to hit the club.
Glow sticks.
No clubs in Montana, buddy. Hunting clubs.
That's
Fishing
awesome.
clubs.
You should. People should know that they don't get to enjoy what we get to enjoy, but we're looking at the camera the whole time. There's not really anything that happens behind the camera until we do Country Club, and then it's like a club out back there.
That's not true. I rely heavily on Danny and Larry to laugh at my jokes that nobody else does.
Do you really?
Yes. Yeah. If I can see, all I can see is their faces and smiles.
Larry said they're really good.
Yeah, he's trying to build up my self-esteem.
Are you suggesting that I don't laugh enough at your humor?
Apparently, yeah.
I'm sorry about that. That's not nice. Real quick on the tennis, because I want to get to the Tour Championship in golf. But again, 3 tennis plays today. Don't know if I want to make any more after this week. After today, but we'll see. I got 3 all on the men's side. Ignacio Busset, -120 versus Daniel Altmaier. Sebastian Baez, -148 versus Juan Manuel Cerundolo. And Botic van de Zandschulp, or as Kelley has dubbed him, BV to Z.
BV to Z.
-147 versus Luciano Darderi. Again, very strange week with the men in Winston-Salem at a 250. The women are playing a 500 in Monterey. But the fact that the numbers have come up favorites so often this week is a real departure from what it usually comes up with. So that alone is odd. And then the nature of these matches has been odd. So I don't know if I want to press it after this tonight. But those are the plays. Those were the numbers said. Busset, Baez, and Van de Zandschulp. Again, U.S. Open pod on Friday after the draw on Thursday. Hopefully by Friday, the quarter numbers will be out. Help us out, books. It's the U.S. Open. Have the quarter numbers out, please, by the next day. Tour Championship, 30 golfers.
30 golfers, East Lake, no cut. We see this course every year. This has been going on now for, 6 years. It's all going to change in a couple years. We can talk about that more later, maybe with Ryan Noonan. But, yeah, we are same format. This is stroke play. What did change last year, the starting strokes we got rid of, so everybody starts flat. 30 players, go out there, 4 rounds, no cut. See who can win this thing, be your tour champion of the year. East Lake, if you're not familiar, par 70, long par 70. This is somewhat similar to what we were looking at if you're doing your own handicapping at home. Similar to what we looked at last week. This is a par 70, but it's long, very penal rough. You get Bermuda 3.5 inches off to the side, so important to keep it in the fairway. Fairway width, though, has been extended here over the past couple years. They did renovations a couple years ago, so it's a little easier to hit the fairways. What gets lost, Gill, with there's only 30 players, scoring is hard to go back and analyze and how do guys really do. There's only 30 in a field. You're used to having way more, right? Actually has played relatively easy over the past couple years. So when you're kind of go and put together recent winners, we usually do that and what the final scores were. Tommy won this. He was 20 under, I think, last year. So you're still going to see high teens to that 20 under mark, likely this year. So
when you have a field of 30, though, it wouldn't surprise you if anybody won, right?
Love that you started with that. I'm going to say I would be shocked if there was 5 guys in this field that won it.
But that's about it.
Yeah. And look, I think it's an exciting tour championship because even the big names come in. Okay, Scottie Scheffler was sick last week. I could play both sides of this. He was sick last week. Is he going to be fine this week? Don't really know. It's golf. You don't get injury reports, so you don't really know how he's feeling. But he's out on the range. He's out on the range holding clubs, hitting golf balls. So those hand blisters are at least feeling a little bit better.
At hand, foot, and mouth.
That's right. Yeah, but, the betting side of it, we always talk. There was 50 in the field last week, Gil. There's 30 in the field this week. His odds are longer this week than they were last week. Why? Because last week he was coming off of a win. This week he's coming off of being sick. But he still finished T12 last week, guys. So just be careful with the Scottie Scheffler fading and being very confident about how sick he might be. Rory's second on the odds board, plus 780. Makes complete sense. He's had a ton of success at this golf course. Came very close last week to winning that golf tournament and admitted that he is not nearly in form because Rory has decided to play very little golf all of a sudden. It's kind of annoying. But yeah, this one sets up well for him. He did play well last week. Played well last week and said that wasn't his best stuff. So if he comes to East Lake with his best stuff, watch out for Rory. Xander's where I started my card. I didn't really fully plan on going to Xander Schauffele this week, Gil, but man, the price shopping, this is one of those weeks. Shop around. You're looking at plus 1225 at DraftKings if you're watching at home right now. I am looking at a 14-1 out there. I was able to get a 15-1. That's where I started. He's being clumped together with Ludwig, Sam Burns, Cameron Young, Wyndham Clark, Patrick Cantlay are kind of that group right around each other. I think Xander Schauffele's a better golfer, though, those guys, both career and really recent form. look, it's T18 at the Open, a second at the Rocket, T7 at the St. Jude. He's been playing very well. He has been one of the best players, period, at this golf course in history. Gained 1.83 strokes over the field over the course of his career. His finishes, no worse than 7th in 8 appearances here. So, pretty easy for me to go, Gill, with my favorite bet of the week. Xander Schauffele top 10 at minus 137. That's all you got to lay. He's never finished outside the top 10, and he's playing pretty good golf right now. So I did go Schauffele outright and top 10. I do really like that top 10 bet, but that outright number I thought had gotten a little too long on Xander. So started with him 15-1, played him top 5, top 10. And then the only other guy I really bet heavily was Colin Morikawa, one of the guys that I thought at the beginning of the playoffs I'd be betting pretty much every week, which I have. The other two would be Sam Burns and Hideki Matsuyama that are not on my card this week, so I'm going to be very pissed off if one of those guys wins.
Do you like the changes Brian Rolapp has in store for this end-of-season stretch for golf moving forward?
I do. I'm very interested to see what the public reaction is years from now.
Specifically, line them up for us exactly what the changes are. More match.
So you're going to have basically the first round of the playoffs will basically be the same, and that's going to be your end of your regular season event basically, and then you're going to have 32 guys move on, and it will be a bracket style match play for 2 weeks. I think the only thing that I'm going to warn people of, they might forget about match play. It can get, when there's not many matches going on, it can get pretty freaking boring pretty quick because somebody can be up 5 shots.
Golf and tennis have this problem, right? The slams end too early in the calendar, so they got to figure out something to keep people interested the rest of the way. That's always the challenge. Paul Sporer, baseball, next on A Numbers Game here at VSiN. You're here because you want an edge. That's what separates listeners from winners. But let's be real, mindset alone doesn't get bets home. Pros win because they've got the tools, the data, and the discipline. And now so can you. VSiN Pro gives you access to the same real-time insights the sharps use. No secrets, no fluff, just actionable info that moves markets. Tap the link and see why serious bettors are turning knowledge into profit with VSiN Pro.
A Numbers Game on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Rainbow Authentics and VSiN are taking the bets to the beach tonight. Tim Murray and Matty Humans are live in Hawaii for a special edition of VSiN Primetime from the Sheraton Waikiki Beach Resort. And tomorrow, don't miss a beach edition of the College Football Betting Podcast, breaking down every angle of Week 0. VSiN in Paradise kicks off tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern, only on VSiN Primetime. Do not miss it. Were they not doing it last night? No, it's tonight. You're right. Tonight, VSiN Primetime. I know they arrived already, because I saw a picture of Tim on a balcony overlooking Waikiki Beach. So they're already there.
I believe the podcast has been recorded.
That's Thursday.
Okay. I thought it had been recorded.
Yeah, yesterday was interviews.
Okay.
You look how I'm just repeating everything Danny sends out here.
Yeah. Good job, Gil, being on top of it.
No, but I'm saying it's right there we just went through the promo.
Yeah, but it can air then. It doesn't need to be recorded.
No. It's specifically a live broadcast.
Oh, okay. So they're replaying the interviews. Got it.
I don't know if okay. I don't know.
No, that's what they're doing. Now I got it all figured out. Now I got it all sorted. I knew they were doing some stuff yesterday. Okay, that's all I was trying to say.
I want you to fact check every promo from now on, moving forward. Anything that I talk about, I want you to poke holes in it.
I did really enjoy you repeating Danny in the same tone. No, that's Thursday.
Oh, that's Thursday.
How could you not know this, Kelley?
Danny is Cyrano de Bergeracking me for this promo criticism. He's he takes it personal on the promos as well.
I just appreciate those guys watching us on the plane yesterday.
Yeah, appreciate it. Glad they got there safely and enjoy Waikiki. They do know the game is not there, right? They are aware of it.
I hope so.
Okay, curious.
Paul, did I just find that out yesterday? Yeah.
Oh wait, before we get to Paul Sporer, we do have apparently I said Dolly Parton was universally beloved. Apparently Ricky Schroeder from Silver Spoons managed to disparage her. I didn't know that. Bentley letting us know that. Bentley's like, yeah, Ricky Schroeder disparaged her. He said, boy, howdy, read the room, dude. And then Eagle Marine Gill, who do you like Alexandrova versus Towson tonight at Monterey? It's a basically pick 'em, which surprised me, hoping you can shed some light on the match. Because their hardcore numbers are basically pick 'em, year and 6 month. I thought the number was where it should be on that match to answer that directly. Paul Sporer joins us now, courtesy of the Progressive Guest Line. You can find him on Twitter at Sporer, Sporer. He's also, of course, the host of the Sleeper and the Bust podcast. He works at FanGraphs. He's also the content designer for Out of the Park Baseball. Joining us now for his 570th appearance on the show. I have no idea how many he's been on, but it's got to be in the 500 range, somewhere like that. Paulie, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Gilliam. Have you heard the phrase, judge me by my enemies? If Ricky Schroeder hates you, you're doing something right. That dude's a piece of human garbage. So awesome.
Yes.
The second that he says that he doesn't like me, yes, that means I'm crushing life because that guy's a complete loser.
Yeah. Okay.
It might be 500 career appearances, but I'll tell you, 2026 Paul Sporer has been something special. Yeah. He's coming in hot like every week.
There is something special when Paul Sporer gets animated about something. Yes. There's something special about it.
I enjoy it
because he saves it for.
Dolly was wonderful.
Dolly was wonderful.
A true, real positive force in the world as a celebrity. Could have been a billionaire for sure, guaranteed. With the way that she could have made money off of her likeness, could have easily been a billionaire. Didn't. Tried to give the money back. Obviously didn't give it all. She was super rich. I'm not saying she was penniless, but she lived like Dolly, and you're on the right track. I guarantee that.
100%. Can we just say it? We'll call her an American treasure. That's exactly what she was. An American treasure. Okay, Paul, I don't mean to do this, and I promise I won't do this moving forward. This might be the last time I do this, but multiple choice. The Tigers flirted with it. Oh. Then they swooned. I know they won last night, but it's kind of feeling like it's over. Are you pissed about it as a Tigers fan, or are you B, do you revert back to what you were talking about last week, which is I can't even work up the rage because the bullpen sucks bad and we knew this would happen?
Yeah, it's definitely the latter in a world where we go with the idea that they never address the bullpen. I revert back to the pissed part where they could have straddled the line here and really done a 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Get some relief help in June or July. Go early in the market. And I'm not talking big trade. I'm talking small trade / waiver wire. Just start churning in some different guys. Teams rebuild bullpens in year all the time. It's not even that difficult. You got to burn and churn a bit. And they weren't burning and churning enough. So when you're not going to do that, and then you trade Mize and Skubal, again, I'm not necessarily against those moves. I think you could have done both. If you rebuild the pen and even still trade one or both of them while still fostering a quality pen, they could still be in this. We see how close they are having traded both guys. So it's less about trading Skubal and Mize and more about leaving the bullpen to be the garbage that it is. And I don't know if I mentioned this with you or on a different spot, but Foolish Bailey, a guy named Foolish Baseball, his name is actually Bailey, did a video about the Tigers bullpen and kind of laid a lot of it at the feet of A.J. Hinch this year. And as much as I love his content, I recommend everyone go watch his content, I don't agree. I simply don't think that he had the horses to work with. So Bailey highlighted a bunch of instances where Hinch pushed a guy to a second inning and all that, and then it blew up in his face. Yeah, but for the last 2 years, every button press that Hinch made seemed to work with the bullpen. And throughout all 3 of these years, this year and the last 2, the bullpen has been bad. They've been bad, mediocre at best players that he's gotten the most out of for 2 years, and it blew up in his face this year. Scott Harris has not given him a quality bullpen to work with. And from the jump, I always had that skepticism about the Tigers, even at the very beginning of the year when I was dreaming of, a big playoff run.
We got on the, well said. I can't add anything to that. On the group chat, we have a group chat. Steve Fezzik, Todd Wishnev, Chris Felica, Will Hill, and I. Will floated. Actually, I don't know if we did on that chat or another one, but Will floated. He's like, Royals, big streak. I mean, this is unbelievable. 100-1 to make the playoffs. I'm like, and I immediately was like, nah, man, it's just they're still too far back. I mean, the Tigers themselves are 4.5 out of a wild card. Right. The Royals are 8 back still, and there's too many teams in between them. 100-1, there still should be another 0, right?
I absolutely agree. I was literally going to say verbatim that too many teams and needs to add another 0, Gil. So we are locked in this morning because after a win 9 only gets you to 8 out. Again, with the teams. No, I'm sorry. You don't want to go there. If you're going to throw that money away, just give them my Venmo account. Tell them that that's where they're putting the money, and I'll just take it. Because otherwise, you're just burning it if you're putting anything on KC right now. I don't. Like you said,
I don't think he was steadfast about it, but he was just kind of throwing it out there. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't even do it as like a quarter unit, little wild card play. Because as you're going to mention, and it's going to be the way throughout the rest of this month and into September, the number of teams is going to become more and more important. Like the games, we're going to say like Toronto's only 3 back. Yes, but 4 teams in front of them, that becomes a bigger problem than the games at a certain point. We're not there yet. But the further we get into September, how many teams are in front of you will start to matter more than the 3-4 games that you are behind.
Of all the teams that are on the outside looking in, and by the way, last thing about the Royals thing, it's just like the Tigers, right? It's like no matter how well you're playing now,
exactly,
you banked so many losses that the moment this win streak like goes into the tank, you're back to where you were. That you just
it was at a point, not to go back to my Tigers, but like where they had to play perfectly, and every loss felt catastrophic because like, oh, you lost, but it was one loss. You can't play that perfect, and the Royals built themselves even a bigger hole than the Tigers. So yeah, I agree.
Who's the team on the outside looking in right now, either American League or National League? Now I know some of these they're gonna have division chances too. So
sure,
right now on the outside looking in, Rangers right by a half game in the division, but 1 game out of the wild card. Orioles 2.5 back of the wild cards. Mariners 3 back of the wild card, closer for the division. Twinkies 3 back in the wild card. Blue Jays 3 back. Tigers 4.5, and then in the NL. Diamondbacks 1 back, Marlins 4 back, Cardinals 5 back. We'll close it there. What's the one team of those, or maybe the 1 or 2, where you're like, this team is going to get there? Like, I still have faith. There's roughly 30 games left in the season, a little less. I still think they have enough runway to do this.
I want to say the Mariners, but I can't. I've moved off of them a bit more of thinking like, hey, they're just going to get there. Their defense sucks. I'm not saying that like I figured it out and nobody else was saying that, but something I kept looking at, I was like, why are they struggling so much? Their offense was actually better this year, played pretty well at home. The pitching is supposed to be so good. And you're seeing somebody like George Kirby carrying like a 135 whip. So I started looking into it. The defense is terrible. Infield and outfield. It's a big problem this year. I think it's undercovered that is hurting Seattle. I think that kind of pushes them out. So I come back to like the Orioles and the Twins, and I don't get the warm and fuzzies about either of them, but they've got a lot of talent. And I'm going to go with the Orioles as the pick here with one key, one big piece that could be really, really interesting. Felix Bautista is working his way back. And if they add him to the bullpen at, a pretty close to his peak level, that's going to move everybody else down in terms of need. And that's going to really lengthen their bullpen. I think they have the offensive horses to do it already. Baltimore does. If they can strengthen that pen by getting Bautista back, I think they can make some noise. And then 4 AL East teams that I could see it. Yeah, I could totally see it.
You and I are in lockstep because I feel this exact same way about the Mariners. And you pointed it out. This is a Joe Pita thing, which he does so great. What we don't capture is batted balls turned into outs, and how some teams are good at that and some teams just suck at that if you get sort of granular. Last thing, B. Earl Nelson, Scooble scheduled to start Friday night in Detroit. They going to welcome him or are they going to boo him?
Ooh. Welcome him overwhelmingly. Anyone who boos is a loser.
You're a loser.
Thank you, Paulie. I love this.
Take care, guys.
Coming back on a numbers game with NFL.
A numbers game on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Our college football guide is out. The VSiN College Football Betting Guide, free with VSiN Pro, has previews of all 138 FBS teams, our preseason top 50, power ratings, proven betting systems, and best bets for VSiN's sharpest minds. That's not all. VSiN Pro also gets you the NFL Betting Guide, the Fantasy Life Fantasy Football Guide, daily best bets, real-time betting splits, AI-powered prop projections, and 24/7 video on the VSiN Watch app. Try it today for just $9.99 or lock in a full year and save 50% with a VSiN annual or a VSiN Pro annual subscription, I should say. Head to VSiN.com/subscribe. That's VSIN.com/subscribe. You know the other thing about the Dolly Parton thing? Because they won't say this in all the tributes. Because it's...
What's that?
They'd rather not bring this part up. But for, let's face it, for much of her career, she was objectified, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a famous Johnny Carson video of this on actually live on The Tonight Show. She handled it always with such grace. And
yes,
that was part of her likability, right? That she never really made that awkward when she very well could have and might have had a right to. That's one of the things they won't bring up, but that's part of her tremendous universal likability. We get tweets of beating the book. Jesse Welch, I'm glad I finally understand the satin in your panties reference now. Ice Goon. Does anyone have a better porn stash than Sporer? Hard to find someone who does. Even Peter North agrees. Wow. Obscure references.
Pretty damn good.
Hey, before I forget, tomorrow, not only is it Zach and Crack, the return of Zach Cohen for Zach and Crack. Bill Krackenberger unscripted for an hour. By the way, we're getting Bill for an extra segment early tomorrow. Have we settled that yet? Was I supposed to ask him?
You were supposed to ask him.
Okay. Maybe I should follow through on that. So hopefully we get an extra. So what's going to happen is Crack, obviously in the 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. hour. Apparently I suggested doing that and I didn't follow through. But we're going to try to get him for a segment earlier.
Yes.
Because for 3 of those segments, for 45 minutes tomorrow in the 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 noon Eastern hour, Jay Cohen is going to join us. And Jay Cohen was one of the 3 founders of the World Sports Exchange, which for those of us of a certain age, we remember as the pioneering, revolutionary, probably most important thing in our betting lives back in the late 90s, early 2000s, in terms of what was available to us. They revolutionized live betting. There was no such thing as live betting really before them. What you see in prediction markets, they did 30 years ago. And he has a new book out. It's called Odds Man Out. We'll talk about that book. It's his whole story, how he came from the Pacific Stock Exchange in San Francisco to start World Sports Exchange with his 2 buddies, and how he was railroaded by the justice system. And it was just the book. I read it in 2 sittings on my phone on a PDF. It was just fascinating. But I will ask him some, as I mentioned, I will ask him some tough questions. Crack and I talked about this a little last night, because tough questions need to be asked. A lot of people who remember World Sports Exchange, what they remember last is they all got stiffed in the end. A lot of people lost money at the end. What about that? And I have some other questions I want to ask him too, which it's just what a story, and it's such a sad story in the end.
Yeah. Just chuckled because I might be comically getting ripped right now off by some place.
You might be getting, oh, that's right. You might be getting ripped off by some. That's right.
Incredible, man. More tomorrow. Stat show tomorrow. We got Zach will be on. We got U.S. Open coming up. Michael Montesano in studio here. And then we've got Mike from Right Angle Sports will be joining us tomorrow as well. Live release tomorrow on the show. I believe so, yeah. Mike Reardon from Right Angle Sports going to be a staple of our fall. Live college football releases on the show. Put you in the in your betting, in your what do we call those? The betting slip, is that what we call those? Mm-hmm. But before you press submit, he will give you the call go or cancel, because sometimes I want to throw off the books moving in advance. So we'll do that. I don't know. You think he's going to do it in that exact same style? I don't know. I think so. Okay. That's kind of their thing. Okay, we'll see. Let's look at some season-long NFL head-to-heads, shall we? And I'm talking about fun. These are fun. These are player-to-player head-to-heads in several categories. Let's start with most regular season passing touchdowns head-to-head. And they've creatively put together, these are at DraftKings, they've creatively put together some pairings. This is Drake May versus Josh Allen, a couple of AFC East quarterbacks. Who will have the most regular season passing touchdowns head-to-head? By the way, ties are refunded or ties lost? Oh, God, who knows? Now, after that one market, I'm going to stop assuming on anything. Someone put it in their bet slip and then do the drop down. That's exactly what we have to do, actually. I'll do that right now as you go through the rest of these. Drake May's minus 140 to have more passing touchdowns head-to-head than Josh Allen. Remember, this is passing touchdowns. This is not overall touchdowns. Last year, in case you're scoring at home, Drake May had 31 passing touchdowns. Josh Allen had 25. Probably a lot of the reason why Drake May is installed. Remember, you can't bet unless it's installed. Installed is a minus 140 favorite. Josh Allen plus 110 on the comeback. You think that's properly priced? Or would you bet? I think it's pretty properly priced. Okay. I mean, Josh Allen's the most valuable player in football. You know that. I love it. I love him. But you just went over the numbers from last year. I don't know that I really expect that to be all that different this upcoming season. We saw what the type of offense that the Patriots are going to lean into. You add A.J. Brown to that. I don't really think that's going to drop off too much. And look, the Bills have become very, very comfortable with, we've got a good offensive line, a great running game. We're going to use that, and you try to stop it. And it's pass the ball when you have to, and it's usually stuff to Dalton Kincaid, I know they added DJ Moore, but it's not like they went out and added a big wide receiver that you think is really going to revolutionize this passing game. So yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of the normal Bills. Well, I think Drake May is pretty dang good. And yeah, I mean, it would be minus 140 with Drake May or nothing.
Speaking of teams that can't get receiver figured out.
No, exactly.
Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens, minus 120 versus Bo Nix, minus 110. So Lamar Jackson, the slight favorite here for most regular season passing touchdowns. Lamar versus Bo Nix. Remember last year, Lamar threw 21 touchdown passes, but he did so in only 13 games. Mm-hmm. Bo Nix threw 25. He played the whole season. Whole regular season anyway. I don't know. Lamar,
this one's tougher.
This one's tough.
I think Bo Nix higher floor, Lamar higher ceiling.
Neither of these make me rush to bet. The ones we've done.
Yeah, but if I look at it that way in a market like this, I don't really know that leads me to a bet.
Matthew Stafford versus Jared Goff. Again, these two famously traded for each other years ago. Matthew Stafford's minus 125, Jared Goff minus 105. Most regular season passing touchdowns head-to-head. Last year, you remember that Matthew Stafford led the NFL in touchdown passes, 46 of them.
It's insane.
Insane. Jared Goff had 34 for the Lions, so 75%, right? Not quite, actually. 46 versus 34. My math is poor. You think Stafford can do it for a second straight year? Have that? I get why he's favored.
I don't think he's going to have that many.
And that's reflected in the number. He's a very slight favorite.
Right. Yeah. Do I think he's still going to have a lot, though? Yeah, as long as he's healthy, I think he's still going to have a lot with those receivers.
The thing is, it's easier to picture Jared Goff throwing a bunch of touchdown passes than it is Matthew Stafford to many people, I would imagine. Just because you just when you have your mind's eye on the Lions is them throwing short little dinks to running backs.
Oh, no,
get into the end zone.
I agree with that, but you just think the last year, and it was just, ridiculous. I mean, they'd be at the 3-yard line and be like, Kyron Williams, nah. Like, let's lob it up to Devontae Adams.
Didn't Devontae have like 17 or something last year, something like that?
Absurd.
How about most regular season rushing touchdowns head-to-head? So this is just strictly on the ground. Can't catch these and go in the end zone. David Montgomery, former Lion against Kenneth Walker, former Seahawk. Now with the Texans and the Chiefs, respectively. David Montgomery is a slight favorite over Kenneth Walker, minus 120 for most regular season rushing touchdowns head-to-head. Last year, different uniform. Montgomery had 8, vulturing some of Jahmyr Gibbs's. Kenneth Walker III had 5 for the Seahawks on the ground.
This one, I think I would bet. Look, I think David Montgomery is going to be a pretty big addition to the Houston Texans backfield.
I think Kenneth Walker, I think people are sleeping on how good he is.
That's where I was going, though. Yeah. But there's still, I mean, you still have Woody Marks in Houston that I think they're going to want to work in a fair amount still. Kenneth Walker is kind of the guy in Kansas City. And there's been a lot of conversation this offseason about using him in the passing game. But yeah, Gill, I think I would bet this one, and it would be Kenneth Walker.
Let's get to these last two. We'll get to some other categories later. Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, teammates for the Eagles. Jalen Hurts is minus 130. Saquon is even money. So Jalen, the favorite to have more regular season rushing touchdowns. Last year, Hurts had 8. Saquon had 7 in a quote-unquote off year for Saquon.
I mean, I'll combine my thoughts on these last two. Cool markets, DraftKings, they're fun, they're creative. I don't know how you bet either of these two because it's like you're flipping coins at the goal line with what these two teams are going to do.
The other one that Kelley's referring to is Josh Allen versus James Cook. Same story with the Bills. Quarterback, running back teammates. Josh Allen's a minus 140 favorite. So again, the quarterback is favorite. James Cook plus 110 on the comeback. Last year, Josh Allen, 14 rushing touchdowns. James Cook, 12. Yep. So yeah, to your point, these are fun. I just, to me, my betting dollar, I'm not racing to bet these.
I mean, the Eagles and the Bills get inside the 2-yard line. Flip a coin.
We'll do receiving yards. We'll do receiving touchdowns, and maybe we'll ask our guest, Mr. Noonan, about regular season sacks head-to-head.
Oh yeah, that's a good call. Yeah,
we'll do that. In the meantime, though, Nick Whalen. Oh, is he going to apologize to Kelley? I think so. Next.
A numbers game on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Back on a numbers game, live from Circle Resort Casino, downtown Las Vegas. Gill Alexander, Kelley Bydlon. We probably should have started the head-to-head season longs by making this point. I was thinking about making this off air and then I forgot to, which is as bettors.
Yeah.
Right. So like this is when researching all of these categories.
Bettors who mainly bet sides and totals like we do.
Well, unless we're betting these specific season-long props, we are not locked into counting stats the way we would have necessarily as kids before we ever bet.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, oh, wow, look, he had 12 touchdowns. Those kinds of things don't stick with us. So I was just asking Kelley off air. I'm like, hey, how many touchdowns do you think Justin Jefferson had last year?
Oh, God.
Which is probably like fantasy players know this number probably at the top of their list. And what did you guess?
What'd I say, 10, 11?
Yeah,
Double digits.
He had 2.
Thought he still had a big year, even though those crappy quarterbacks he had.
Which is probably why Justin Jefferson is like, nobody thinks of me as a top receiver anymore.
I was talking about with Nick, too, about CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb, I remember having a big season. Not that many in the end zone, though.
Nick Whalen joins us now. He knows all about fantasy. He is the co-host with Jeff Erickson of Prop Points. Follows us each and every Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific here on the network. Nick joins us now, courtesy of the Progressive Guest Line. You can follow him on Twitter at Whalen, but substitute the number 1 for the letter L. Nick, before we get your thoughts on one of these other categories, would you like to issue I know you're coming into town tomorrow for the weekend. Would you like to issue a public apology for blowing off Kelley last year? Would you like to do that right now?
Look, Kelley, we talked about this on the show last week. I got to be honest, I have no memory of this. I felt horrible in the moment. Gill told me like right before we came back from break, so I had to do the whole segment with this like stewing in the back of my mind. I mean, I would be honored to hang out with you at Circa. I can't believe that this was perceived as blowing off. I will actually be at Circa later tonight. I'm heading out pretty much right after our show ends, so I'll be landing about 6:30 local time. If you guys are scratching around the sports book, myself, Jeff Erickson, a couple other RotoWire guys will be out there through Saturday.
And you guys are doing the normal podcast Radio Row again this year?
Yeah, well, we have the final 2 shows of Prop Points before we hand it off to John Hansen. So we'll be doing those live over at the D both tomorrow and Friday, and then we'll be hitting Radio Row. We may or may not be getting a couple rounds of golf in while we're out there, and then doing all the contest weekend events.
Also, no apology needed at all, Nick. It was funny that you were locked in professional mode. That's all I noticed. And like Jeff was all giddy, to be in Vegas, and that was where it was funny. Oh, yeah. It was the contrast of you two.
And it was completely wrong of me to lay that on you right before the segment. He was just absolutely rattled.
Just with a heavy heart, I had to give out some plays.
Yeah, I want to ask you some fantasy questions, courtesy of the great Danny Higgins, who will be leaving us this week. So he wants to get his final fantasy questions in. But we were going through some season-long head-to-head passing touchdowns and rushing touchdowns. We wanted to do receiving yards with you as a fantasy guy. If you had any thoughts on these head-to-heads, we'll just sort of spring several of these on you, or actually 6 of these on you. We'll put them up all on the screen. A.J. Brown, a slight favorite over Devonta Smith. A.J. Brown, obviously former Eagle, now with the Patriots. Devonta sticking around there in Philly now as wide receiver 1. A.J. Brown, a slight favorite. Let's start with that one. What are your thoughts?
I would go with A.J. Brown if you're saying just who finishes with more yards this year. And I can tell you in the fantasy world, we're seeing A.J. Brown being drafted ahead of Devonta Smith in high stakes leagues right now, which is the ADP I like to pull from. A.J. Brown is going about pick 16 overall, so just into the second round, whereas Devonta Smith going in the early third round. Now, I do think we could see a huge leap from Devonta Smith. You wonder a little bit about the physical limitations for him at the NFL level, but I mean, you can make the argument that there's not been a more productive receiver at the college level in the last 10 or 20 years than Devonta Smith. But I do think the upside with A.J. Brown in New England is higher than like the best case scenario for Devonta Smith in Philly. Part of it, of course, is the offense and the quarterbacks that they're playing with. I think we still have questions about Jalen Hurts, who feels like, you kind of see a different version of him week to week. I think if this hits in New England with A.J. Brown, it could really hit. I mean, we could be talking 1,400 plus yards, whereas I don't think there's that same ceiling for Devonta Smith in Philly. I think the absence of A.J. Brown in that offense this year maybe means that Philly goes back to being able to do what they want to do week to week, not feeling obligated to get A.J. Brown involved. And that means more running with Jalen Hurts, pounding Saquon Barkley, mixing in some Tank Bigsby. So Devonta Smith, to me, a very valuable wide receiver 1 in fantasy, but higher upside for A.J. Brown in New England.
Last year, when they were together, when A.J. Brown wasn't whining, Devonta 1,008 yards receiving, A.J. Brown 1,003. last year.
Yeah, I'm interested to see. I think Nick broke it down well. I think A.J. Brown, his ceiling very high this year, potentially in New England. I don't know where Devontae Smith's floor is with Philly.
You like the A.J. Brown side.
I would bet this one.
That's the first
if this
one
was available to me, I would bet.
Is there another one on that list? We'll just throw up the list. So Kelley and I will go over later. Is there another one on this list that piques your curiosity or that you might be a play on here?
Well, let me see. I think St. Brown versus CeeDee Lamb is interesting. I'm certainly not touching the Concepcion versus Boston.
I was joking with Danny before the show.
I just want nothing to do. Yeah, I want nothing to do with the Browns offense. Although I do think there's maybe a case for Concepcion just being the short pass guy. You know, I think when you look at some of these bad offenses and you're just trying to kind of manage it down to down, game to game, I do trust the guys who work more in the short area, and I think that would be Concepcion, but not a strong enough lean for me to bet it. I mean, I will say Stephon Diggs. I know you're paying minus 130 here, but Diggs versus Deebo Samuel, I think that's a pretty obvious one for me. You know, both of these guys are kind of in the twilight of their career, but Stephon Diggs was still 1,000+ yard receiver last year, obviously in a good situation with the Patriots, but Washington needs him really, really badly to be a high-level number 2 next to Terry McLaurin, whereas I mean, with Deebo, I think I said it on this show or another show a couple weeks ago. I mean, he's a running back. It feels like he's kind of in like the Russell Westbrook phase of his career where he's bouncing around between teams. You still see the flashes every now and then, but it's just not really the same guy that he was in the past. And I mean, with the way Deshaun Stribling is coming on, they have Mike Evans, they have Christian Kirk. I'm not really sure where Deebo Samuel even fits in the hierarchy in San Francisco.
Yeah. Also, do you want to live through a year-long Stephon Diggs versus Deebo bet? Like, just of all the bets you can live through.
Do you want to have your money tied up in that? I'm not sure you do.
I don't know. That one I'm more okay with. I would think. I had immediate just what? When it Concepcion versus Boss. I'm like, who's going to the window and betting on the Browns rookie wide receivers to outperform one another?
That's right. All right, fantasy questions. Let's go speed round. Danny Higgins submitting several questions. Where do you have Christian McCaffrey ranked? And is he consensus RB3 behind Bydlon or Jahmyr Gibbs, whichever order you have those two guys in?
So McCaffrey is tough. I am not drafting Christian McCaffrey this year. With that said, you can't rank him like 35th overall. You know, there's still an obligation to place him like somewhere late in the first round, but I would take Jonathan Taylor over him. JT is actually going over Christian McCaffrey on average in these expert leagues. So I would say McCaffrey is closer to consensus RB like 3.5 at this point. The ADP is really close. I would take James Cook over him. I would take receivers, certainly like CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, JSN, Puka Nacua, all those guys over him in the first round. It's just not a health bet that I want to make 2 years in a row. It's a little bit like Kawhi Leonard last year with the Clippers, kind of a best case health scenario. Like, are you really betting on Christian McCaffrey after that kind of workload, playing 17 games 2 years in a row? I am not.
How high should Jeremiah Love go for the Cardinals?
Well, I think Jeremiah Love passed the eye test for me before the injury in the first preseason game. Like, he was alarmingly good. You know, I threw out the Adrian Peterson comp on our show, and I'm not saying he's going to be that kind of player, but just the running style, you know, kind of reminded me of that. I do think we're a little bit low as a fantasy community, maybe on the Cardinals offense. Like, they're not going to be a good team. They're not going to win a lot of games, but this was a team that was piling up points last year. They were playing in shootouts every week. I think that could be the case again. So right now you could get Jeremiah Love into the fourth round. You know, if you're looking at him versus someone like Breece Hall, Travis Etienne, Josh Jacobs, I'm comfortable taking Jeremiah Love in that range, but I'm not taking him over the Derrick Henry, Javonte Williams tier just above him.
Who is your overall number one rookie player in fantasy this year? Is it Love or is it somebody else?
I think it has to be Jeremiah Love by default, but it's a really interesting class because so many of these highly drafted wide receivers in particular, and even Jeremiah Love as a running back, ended up in what I would say are bad situations. You know, bad quarterbacks, bad offenses, new head coaches that we don't trust. So Jeremiah Love is going to be the first rookie off the board in just about any draft, but I'm equally comfortable waiting a few rounds and taking Jadarian Price, who, by the way, is down to 6-1 now for Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Brock Bowers, worth an early round pick?
I think so. We have a couple guys on staff who are really sharp, who are just all over Brock Bowers. You know, I think there's the idea that, you know, kind of like we talked about with AJ Brown, where if this hits, I mean, we could be talking about an all-time tight end season. You know, he missed a bunch of time last year, was still putting up numbers in a terrible Raiders offense. I think there's some belief that this will be a much more competent offense this year, and there's just no competition whatsoever at wide receiver. I mean, it's what, Trey Tucker and Jalen Naylor, I think, are your wide receivers 1 and 2 right now.
And then Browns-Falcons quarterback situations, how are those affecting fantasy as you see it?
They're not impacting Bijan Robinson. They're not really impacting where Drake London is going either. You're starting to see Kyle Pitts slide a little bit with those concerns in Atlanta. Cleveland, though, it's really tough. It's really, really tough to jump ADP for even someone like Quinshon Judkins, where you just wonder, like, how many red zone possessions is this team going to have? Harold Fannin is somebody people are interested in, but we're seeing Concepcion, Boston still widely available late in drafts, which is not usually the case for first and early second round receivers.
Nick, thank you. We'll see you at top of next hour, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Nick Whalen, co-host of Prop Points with Jeff Erickson. More NFL next.